Thank you everyone for joining, and welcome to the BMF Northwest Mandate Beyond, celebrating 45 years anniversary. And just before we can commence with our program, let me read out about the Black Management Forum as a non-racial, non-partisan, and non-sexist organization focusing on the development of managerial leadership and the creation of managerial structures that are reflective of demographics and values of the broader South African societies. Strong attention is paid to socio-economic transformation of our country through the pursuit of justice, fairness, and equity. The BMF has been in existence for 45 years, and hence the event today, and it is thought leadership organization with the main purpose of influencing socio-economic transformation in our country in pursuit of socio-economic justice, fairness, and equity. The BMF stands for the development and empowerment of managerial leadership and the creation of managerial structures and processes that reflect the demographics and values of the wider society. Well, thank you so much, the BMF Northwest, our young professionals, and the student chapter for this occasion at the Mandate Beyond 45 years anniversary. My name is Rufilwe Sokobusani, BMF Student Chapter Northwest. It gives me great pleasure to facilitate this event. We celebrate 45 years of driving ethical leadership. The Black Management Forum, since its inception, has advocated for development and transformation of leadership in strategic economic industries. It's an honor really to be part of this organization, and we want to shine the light. We want to aim rather to transform the narrative about the socio-economic drive in the Northwest Province and across South Africa. And I've read something very interesting about the thought leadership, and I thought I should share about these informed opinion leaders and the go people in their field of expertise. Those who are thought leaders, they become the trusted sources who move and inspire people with innovative ideas. And that's what today is all about. We want to inspire, move the community and the society at large. We want to answer the deeper questions. And as student chapter, we are on the verge of leaving a lasting legacy, communities, teams, system, industries, and the government. And that's what today is all about. I will hand over to Mr. Kutlwano Dikwatle, a provincial deputy chairperson, to do the opening remarks. Well, thank you very much once again. Mr. Dikwatle.
Thank you very much, leaders and managers. My name is Kutlwano Dikwatle. I'm the deputy chair of the province. Mine is to welcome you, colleagues, and also introduce the speaker. Firstly, I would like to thank the organizers of the event or the session. It really takes a lot to prepare this kind of a session, and we really appreciate your effort, colleagues, to create this opportunity for us to engage and share information. And we are hoping that all of you are going to have a great time this evening, understand and get that reservoir of information and benefit from the experience of those that came before us, those that have built experience and knowledge around the objectives and the contribution that BMF has done and would like to keep on doing. This evening, colleagues, the topic is beyond 45 years of BMF, and we would like the speaker to share with us, her experience, her knowledge. She has been around She's currently the district chief director for Dr. KK. She has got extensive background in the health sector, and she's also been involved in many community development activities. She has received awards such as Premier's Achievement Awards. She has an extensive experience also in terms of the BMF itself. She was once a provincial chairperson for the Northwest between the period of 2012 to 2016. And colleagues, based on her experience and her contribution to the organization, I trust that we will gain a lot of knowledge and experience from her. I've personally been able to be in her space. She's very straightforward. She's very disciplined, and she's knowledgeable around BMF. And whenever she shares experience, you can see that it's practical. It's something that she experienced herself. During their time, as and when sometimes I engage, they will be sharing the fact that they've had events. They've managed to even invite BMF presidents to Northwest. So it really shows that we are having someone who has walked the path, who will be able to guide us and share information and knowledge in such a way that we will learn about BMF, from where it's coming from, and also our province, and in terms of the opportunities that we can access in the province. Colleagues, I would like to welcome Mayor Nela Mojanaga to share with us her experience of BMF based on the topic that we have set for the evening. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Dukwase. I guess we have to do the introduction twice. Well, previously was the deputy chairperson of the Black Management Forum Northwest, Mr. Kutlwani Dukwase, and later on to do the vote of thanks is one of our own BMF student chapters, going to be Mr. Maximo Lale. And a moment I guess we have all been waiting for. I think every time I have to introduce a female speaker, I get filled with so much content of a role played by women in our society. You know, women spend so much time shaping and molding. Our guest today is Ms. Nela Mojanaga, former BMF chairperson and acting director general in the Department of Health, the Northwest province. Menela, I must say, you know, with the huge role, your immense contribution is recognized. We are very delighted to host you today. There's a quote I absolutely love. You know, it says, a leadership strategy without ethical clarity produces moral and economic bankruptcy. But with women like you in power positions, Menela, I must say, we see light. As young people, there's hope. Let me not steal your time. Thank you so much for joining us, Menela. Well, the podium is yours. Thank you very much.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. As my children, as a parent, you want to raise children that will contribute in society. It is really an honor and a pleasure to be with you tonight. Can we please have the presentation? And you know, it always rejuvenates me when I'm around young people. Because when you look at 45 years, it's a pivotal year in anyone's life. Because you are 5 years from 50 years and 5 years from 40. And there are some people who believe that when you are above 40 is the end of the world. It is the beginning of life. Because when you are 40 years old, you come with a bit of experience. We have gone through life, and there are things that you can actually go forward with and contribute. However, I have a firm belief that in South Africa, based on where we are, our history is shaped by young people. It's shaped by young people because they do not fear or they do not come with a baggage. What they feel and believe in is key. So that is why we are having this conversation today, to make sure that when you go forward, if we have made mistakes as your parents, you need to take the baton and move forward. Can we please move, Pitu? There's the outline of the presentation. I'm not going to read through it line by line. Let's go to the first line, to the first slide. There are three people that actually talk to what we are going to talk about today. And the point is, when you are 45 years, you'll know when you come to 45 years, is the fact that you are going to fall. It's important that you must stand up. Dale Carnegie says, develop success from failures. Discouragement and failure are the two surest stepping stones to success, and how you respond to these two will determine whether you go to a higher level. And most young people currently might feel quite dejected because of the high unemployment rate. However, I have a firm belief that the high unemployment rate would actually also produce a new cadre of people, and that is entrepreneurs. There is no way that you can have someone who still have a fully functional brain can sit at home and lament. And then O.G. Mandino, there's a book, actually it's back in circulation, The World's Most Successful Salesman. I read this book when I was younger. And I did not understand why the repetition in some of the things, but it was talking to consistency, it was talking to precision, it was talking to, if you want something badly, you must actually do it. So O.G. Mandino says, each misfortune you encounter will carry in it the seed of tomorrow's good luck. So it is key that we learn from our previous mistakes. And of course, there is no way that I can leave out a phenomenal woman, Maya Angelou. And this is what I want to base the talk on. Courage is the most important of all virtues, because without courage, you cannot practice any other virtue consistently. BMF is 45 years old. Some of you have not even reached 45 years. In your life's path, you are going to come across a lot of sidewalks, misfortunes, discouragement. What is key is that you keep to the value system of the BMF and what your parents have taught you. BMF requires a specific mindset. It does not require you to be rich. It just requires you to be rich in spirit and in courage. And if we can tell stories from the past, some of us would not be where we are had it not been because of courage and integrity. Then, as the last part of my introduction, I need us to talk about global warming and the fact that we have become very complacent as a generation. We are used to electricity. I know that Kutwano is here. We are used to cars. We are used to so many things. However, it depends on the young people of today to change this around. We have to reduce the gas emissions and start planting indigenous trees. So we do not only plant when it comes to human beings, But we must also take care of the environment, because if we don't take care of the environment, it will not take care of us. That is why we are having the challenges that we are having. Let's move Itu. The BMF mandate. I've also shared the slides, which is quite important. But what I also need to bring to your attention is that the strategic plan for the BMF needs to be reviewed in 2021, which is this year. And this creates an opportunity for all of you to give an input on how best and we can improve as the BMF going forward. Let us move Itu, because everyone basically knows this. This is where the BMF started. It was in 1976. I think all of you know about this foundation or the movement, the student movement. And it is really an order that the facilitator is a young person and is a student, because that's where the planting of ideas start, and also of the courage. Most of the critical milestones in this country were started by student movements. We as older people came on board and crystallized it into policy and also into implementation. However, young people do not fear to speak out. And it is important that you do not lose that as young professionals in the student movement. However, as and when you do that, which is a critical point of BMF, it must be well researched, so that you must be a thought leader in what you are talking about. So this is key, and we need more and more younger people moving into the research environment to make sure that we move forward as a country. A country that invests in research has got the capacity to innovate and be creative. So for those who are still at school, please continue into the research field, because South Africa is actually making a lot of strides in this particular area. Let's move then Itu. I think the facilitator has already touched on this matter, that we are non-racial, non-partisan, and non-sexist. And we focus on the development of managerial leadership and the creation of managerial structures that are reflective of the demographics and values of the broader South African society. I must say we are still struggling in this particular area, because when you look at the employment equity, we have not met targets. And I must say, the saddest one is the fact that we are leaving behind people living with disabilities. And this is an area where each and every one of us must take someone on board and say, I'm empowering this person. You know, when we started in the health system a few years ago, and the target of 2% was set, I gave an instruction to managers. I said, I don't want to hear or read about the disability. I want to see it. You see, most often people took it as a joke. They said, I'm called Mama at work. And they say, Mama doesn't want to read the disability. She wants to see it. And as and when people appoint a person with a disability, they come and show me. And let me tell you, appointing a person with a disability takes a lot out of the system, because you also have to provide tools of trade for that particular person to be able to function in that environment. And I think that's one of the areas where we are not doing well, because as managers, it's much more comfortable to take an able-bodied person and not take the extra step. So this is a call to all of you as young people. When you get into the workplace and you are able to make a difference, take one person with a disability with you, because that will create such an impact on that particular person going forward. And I think I was able to make such decisions based on the fact that I belong to a very great organization. The first one was SAPSWA. That's when I started associating myself with the South African Black Social Workers Association. Then I associated myself with the Black Management Forum. In the BMF, most people think that we are going to get tenders and whatever. This might sound like a cliche, but when you get into the BMF, you must know that we are looking for your contribution, ideas, your input, research, your input on the legal aspect, which is one of the things where we are not doing well. And one of the things that the MOI has actually started changing is about the non-sexist area, where we are setting targets for board members that if you have so many females, you must have this number of males and females that are balancing. And most of all, it's advocating for transformation. And I must appeal to all of you. You know, transformation is not only about employment equity targets. Given the brains around the table and within the organization, it's very difficult to transform your brain, to look at things in a different manner. And this is the path that we as elderly people have actually worked. And the only way you can transform yourself is through criticism. I'm going to share a story with you. I visited a country for community development. It was a 6-month course. And you know, the way the people in that country were treating us, it was totally different. Then one of the lecturers said to us, "You can't tell me anything." I think it was in 1987. Yeah, 1987. In 1989 to be exact, at the Eastern Route. That you cannot tell me anything because we are not born free. And as a result, your mind is still stuck in the past. We were very angry because at that point in time, we were activists. But when I was sleeping at night, I asked myself, this man can't be right. I have a brain. And I must prove that fact that even if I am not born free, I am able to think. And by the time we left Eastern Route, he had a different opinion about all of us. And we had to call each other to order and say, no, leave him. He's a bigot, he's fine, but how do we change ourselves? Because if we go to war as a country, it will require a specific mindset as compared to when we gain freedom. So it requires someone who comes with a history and a conscious decision to do what is right. And this is what the BMF stands for. Can we move into? There's a vision and mission of what is it, of BMF. And it is not by default that Ubuntu is right on top. A people who does not know themselves will surely perish. Ubuntu, that's why it has not been translated in any other language, because when you talk about humanity, it's about the human species and how they treat each other. But Ubuntu is about a collective, the heritage, the way we relate to each other, and the way we make sure that your relatives and your friends are taken care of. What is also key in the BMF and what has carried me throughout all these years, and make sure that when you look at me as an individual, you can see that I can trust this mother. It's integrity. We are facing a lot of corruption in the country. And let me tell you, when you have integrity, you take a path less traveled. We are not saying when we have integrity, you must tell everybody that we have integrity. Your actions as a community member will show that we have integrity and people will start trusting you. And when people start trusting you, it's also a gift that you must embrace, and it comes with responsibility. Integrity does not mean that you have to do things. You remember when we spoke about the Maya Angelou code on courage? Integrity requires courage. It is not attached to a position. It is not attached to a rank. It's not attached to an age. It's what you as a human being decide to stand for, and that you'll take to the grave with you. And it has a tendency of rubbing off on your children, because you cannot call your child to order for stealing sugar and you go and steal a few millions at work. It doesn't make sense. Just as much as you call your child to order for not to steal sugar, don't steal from the cookie jar at work also. The other element, which is creativity, and this often, most of the time, comes from the student chapter and also from the young professionals. I just want to say to you, you know what? You don't know the contribution that you are bringing to society. And it's not only in the BMF, it's about the space that you occupy also in your community and in the workplace. The way you are solution-oriented and not only complaining. So it is key that as a BMF member, you understand that this organization that we have joined is based on all these other pillars, but most of all, also understand that respect does not come from being a BMF member. It comes from your actions, and it is also earned. Let's move into every self-respecting organization has got a code of conduct. You go to church organizations, there is a code of conduct. They even have a dress code. The environment where I work in also has got a code of conduct. They also have got a dress code. Now it's key that we go through the code of conduct, because the organization where I come from, even after hours, even during holidays, I subscribe to that code of conduct. As a result of that, it is easier for me to subscribe to the BMF code of conduct. And it's also important, just like at home, when you do something funny, your mom or your dad will say to you, whom are you representing in society? Because now you are defiling our name. Members of the BMF must at all times maintain the honor and dignity of the forum. And dignity and honor, it's something that cannot be bought. Dignity and honor, it is not BMF that will give you that. It comes from you as an individual, how you carry yourself, your actions, and what you do on a day-to-day basis. And if you are given a task, do you do it with due diligence? We also treat others with courtesy and fairness. My parents have taught us that people are made, a person is made in the image of God. And if someone is made in the image of God, one, you say you love God, so you must love this person. Two, you cannot love God if you do not love your neighbor. And this is reflected in the various organizations where we work. Because where we work, for instance, in the public sector, you come across people who cannot afford services and are very sick. And when those people come, they are made in the image of God. They are also men and women who are loved by their families. So it means that when they are treated, they must be treated with dignity, because no one likes being sick. And this is part of the induction program that we have in the Department of Health, that every patient that walks through the door, treat it as a first-class patient. We do have glitches here and there where you find that there is a negative attitude. And we deal decisively with such people. And that is why we have a complaints mechanism in the Department of Health, because if we say this person is made in the image of God and you don't treat them with courtesy or with fairness, what exactly are we saying? Conduct our personal and public lives with care and diligence. You know, it's not many people who are BMF members. You may wear the BMF cap, but if you do not conduct yourself with dignity, you remember we spoke about honor and dignity. Even if you can have a BMF cap, a BMF shirt, and whatever, it's not going to help you. Because in the BMF, we also grow future men and women and make sure that when you go forward, is put forward by the BMF through the leadership search program, we have full confidence in you as a human being. We must also refrain from using directly or indirectly the forum or anybody controlled or appointed by the forum to advance own political, religious beliefs, social and economic needs at the expense of the forum. You know, in the past, we've had members that were removed from the role because they wanted additional membership and they were promising people tenders. This put the BMF in disrepute and those members were removed. They were belonging to BMF Northwest. So whatever you do, you must always remember, you cannot use the name of the BMF in order to advance your own personal, aspirations. And we must also refrain from committing any act that may conflict with the aims of the forum. And we must diligently and with due care carry out any obligations of a member towards the forum. Let's move into. There's a Bmf roadmap, which actually also shows where we should be going. I think in order for us to go forward, policies are very important and they show a roadmap of where we are supposed to go. We must actively contribute to policy formulation and ongoing review to test policy effectiveness. It's also important as a member of the BMF to champion the cause of those that are less fortunate than we are. And this is very important. South Africa currently is sitting with a very serious challenge of people falling through the gaps. If we are comfortable and we have jobs, and don't take care of others. For instance, in Dr. Kenneth Kaunda in the Northwest, there's an organization called Walk a Mile in My Shoes. These are organizations that we must contribute to from time to time. Because if we are comfortable, you and I have got jobs. But in the long run, if we don't do something about those children, they are going to end up getting married to our children, except that the very houses where we feel comfortable are going to be invaded. You cannot have an unequal society to the extent that we are having an unequal society. And we need to start asking ourselves questions. How do we find ourselves in such a quagmire? And it's important that we need to move away from that and the complacency. One of the basic things that we have to do is to strengthen food security. When you look through all the social media platforms, the group that we belong to, having gardens in our respective homes or starting community gardens is one of the key factors that we need to start dealing with. Because how do you argue with someone on an empty stomach and you've just eaten a burger or you've just eaten prawns? It is immoral and not ethical. And we must also monitor and evaluate the pace of transformation. And we fail to do that as the BMF and as your parents. Because if we monitored and evaluated the pace of transformation, we would not be finding ourselves with a challenge where we are today. Public entities, municipalities, and the public service is sitting with a very huge bill, and most of the bills are going towards corruption. And these are the areas where we need to start standing up and saying this and no more. And we must also lobby to accelerate the pace of targeted transformation towards an inclusive economy. You know, one of the sad things that we did as your parents was that we were keen to belong to the Western world. And we took the policies of the Western world as they are and did not customize them to fit the need in the continent. That is why the whole continent has got so many challenges, because we failed to sit down and review policies, customize and adopt them to the African system. That is why today we are where we are. Also, thought leadership. As a BMF member, when you start talking, people must listen because you are coming with facts. You have also researched the topic that you are talking about, and we need to make sure that we replicate this across the board. Let's move into. Now, this one is still the roadmap, unlocking access to opportunity, funding, and markets for Black business in growth. You know, I was sitting with a young man at one point, and I said, this one doesn't know me. And he kept on saying, sister, ke kopa gore le re empower. So empowerment is a it's good to empower. You know, when you look at the supply chain management and treasury regulations, all you have to do is to register and make sure that you know your business. Whatever is done must be above board, and people must subject themselves to the existing supply chain management requirements. How do you code to repair electricity when you don't even have the skills or the qualification to do so. But we can leave it there and say that this is not the responsibility of the person who is submitting the tender. We as managers must also make sure that whatever goes through our hands also meets requirements. Because someone might take a chance, but the last person who makes a decision must also make sure that everything is above board. Stealing from service delivery must be classified as a crime against the state, and harsh sentence must be meted. You know, I was looking at the regulations. In the past, when we are dismissed in the public service for fraud, for service delivery, not meeting service delivery requirements and whatever, the parcel system did not take you back. This has been relaxed. For fraud, we have a cooling period of 5 years. For service delivery matters, we have a cooling period of 1 year. It's really a sad state of affairs where we have subjected ourselves to such matters. But we also need to look at some of the things that we can do that will assist that going forward. One of the things that I spoke about was agriculture, strengthening food security. But also there are a lot of indigenous plants that can actually assist us going forward. We need to look at infrastructure investments. One of the things that we can look at, for instance, cannabis. Cannabis does not only produce does not only have a medicinal value. You can make clothes from cannabis, you can make bricks from cannabis. So the little space that you have, but you must first get a license to do that. Just don't go and grow cannabis in your backyard, please, ladies and gentlemen. Also support tourism. The green economy interventions, it's some of the things that we have to look at. You know, South Africa is in a very serious position now based on the fact that the plants, Medupi plant and your Gusasa plant always has got a challenge. I believe that in Africa, there are other green interventions that we can look at. You know, when you talk about IPPs, independent power producers, everyone thinks about corruption, which is not the case. Most of us know a grandmother or a grandfather who lives in a village because we have wind-driven systems. For instance, in Dr. Kenneth Kaunda in Leodorestas, there's a company that produces solar panels, and the municipality and ESCOM actually give a rebate for installing or reducing power consumption in the household. So those are some of the things that you must start looking at, more especially the young professionals. We must also look at macroeconomic policy interventions, how we can turn the country around. For those who are studying, for instance, you don't only need to be in the economic sphere to look about macroeconomic policy interventions. In your field of study, you can contribute towards this. And also a thriving local industrial base. It's important when you source services to source them locally. I'm going to share an experience. You know, my home was broken into, and I got someone who has got to fit in burglars. They were burglars, but now I have to replace them. I still haven't received a full code, But I told myself that this gentleman is going to give me a full quote. He quoted for the design. Then he said, transport. I said, add the transport. He added the transport. Then he forgot and said, are you going to buy the paint yourself or must I buy the paint? I said, buy the paint. I said, when you cost, and you know, this is someone who's been working in this area for a very long time. And it's an opportunity to actually teach someone that when you quote, you must give a full quote. And when we get services from Black people, we must not always negotiate price, because we have a tendency of saying, I'll compare discount. What is the poor man or woman going to live with? Because this person gets this money once off and that's it. I'm not saying this because I have money. I'm saying this because I have a belief in the fact that if you are able, just lift up one person at a time, and that will be adequate. Can we move? I have also spoken about partnering for research and advocacy, which is quite important. And one of the areas that when I was looking at research specifically in the field where I'm working is that HIV has been beaten to death. However, how we take care of our communities and of our orphaned and vulnerable children is an area where you do not have a lot of body of knowledge. And I have a firm belief that as Africans also studying, we can research in how the system, the African system, took care of children in the past, because you did not have an orphan. There was an orphan by name. There was someone who took care of that child and did all the things. And also have an informed and principled commentary on relevant current issues. We must also build capacity to enable deliberate socio-economic transformation. That's what I've just spoken about. And I need yourselves to take this forward, the BMF Young Professionals Development Program, because it depends on the person who's a beneficiary to actually take the process forward. We must also look at skills development in preparation of the fourth industrial revolution. Earlier on, I was listening to my sister talking to Mele. You know, I'm BBT and I'm not scared to say it. When I look at a computer and there's something new, it becomes a crisis. And it's very important that you teach us as your parents how to maneuver around this matter. Because on another level, we are also talking about how to improve the IT platform in the Northwest Province. Because the IT platform is not only going to the IT infrastructure, and I see that the municipality and district municipality are putting in Wi-Fi. It's also going to deal with the socio-economic transformation. For instance, in the Northwest Department of Health, we have a system, an electronic system for submitting, invoices. This makes it easier and saves a lot of time. And the e-portal, which is a treasury mechanism, also makes it possible. But if someone does not have airtime, it becomes very difficult. And we know that most of our young people are unemployed. They may have brilliant ideas, but if they don't have the tool or the mechanism to submit their ideas and to study, it becomes difficult. The IT platform and infrastructure is also going to assist children in Quintile 1 and 2 schools. We don't know how long COVID is going to last. And every child has got a right to education. And IT is one of the measurements for sustainability, because you'll be able to work from home if you are working. You are able to submit whatever you want to submit electronically from home if you have Wi-Fi. Children are able to learn from home. So it is key as and when we deal with macroeconomic policy reforms. The matter of IT is must be prioritized. And then the exchange programs, we have several ones that they spoke about, your JUP program and whatever from BMF. Can we move then, Itu? One of the things that we need to look at, and you know, it's a sad thing that we have left the academics by the roadside. We need to look at the curriculum that is being given to our children. It's not only rich people that can do homeschooling. What you feed your child in the education system now is going to determine the quality of the product. Because the first education is at home. And we must develop a curriculum for sustainable and systemic transformation. We cannot keep on raising children by laying shame. There are countries where children are raised based on their strengths. In South Africa, we only concentrate on the academic side. The other countries look at what the child is able to do. It can be arts, it can be your, what do you call these, artisans or whatever. So you raise a whole human being which does not drop out of school because what he or she is good at is not recognized by the system. So these are some of the things that we need to look at. And also place Black professionals through the leadership search. But what is also key is that as a BMF member, we are obliged to be competent, ethical, transparent, and trustworthy. I think we spoke about this earlier on. Because when you come through the door, people must know what they can discuss with you and what they cannot discuss with you. New ideas, welcome. But when it's something that is unethical, no, that is a no-no. You are also obliged to report corruption and irregularities. And this is where the courage comes in. The courage to do what is right. You must disclose if your immediate family is doing business with the state or the company you are working for. We are not saying your family member cannot do business with the state or the company that you are working for. But you cannot sit through the evaluation and adjudication and awarding. You must recuse yourself. This is the correct thing to do. You must disclose that I have a vested interest, my sister or my cousin. If you did not know, when they walk through the door, you disclose what and you must also have a barometer for yourself on what you do to empower others. Let's move into. This is Heritage Month. It is also important for us to talk about wellness, because you cannot lead people if you are not well. And the school environment and the work environment currently is fraught with a lot of challenges. So the first one, emotional wellness. This is your personal responsibility. Do not give it to anyone else. La ntlhaloganya bana ke, ska ba fa motho basket ya gago ya monate. It's yours and yours alone. You will have challenges, o tla nna le di up and down, but your emotional wellness is your personal responsibility. If you cannot cope, go and speak to a professional person. Environmental wellness, which is what we are facing now with global warming, with climate change, with a lot of pampers that we are throwing around, and the fact that we blame municipalities for not collecting refuse because we cannot stand the stench of our own refuse. It starts with us. You know, one of the sad parts with us in South Africa is that we do not recycle refuse. If we recycled, we would not be having the challenge that we are having. So environmental, it's a collective responsibility. However, it starts with you as an individual. Intellectual, it's also personal. What you contribute depends on you and how you are prepared to reach. Physical, the security depends on how society on a personal level works towards remove yourself. You must make sure that you do not place yourself into unnecessary danger. And social wellness is interactive and how you relate to others. And it's also a higher paradigm of responsibility because you must respect people, you must treat them with courtesy, and you must also treat them with fairness. Spiritual wellness, you cannot be spiritual without others. We must train the body and mind to take care of itself so that you are in a position to give. You cannot give if you have nothing to give. Wellness is an active process of making choices towards a healthy and fulfilling life. But also, on a personal level, we must exercise regularly, have proper nutrition that can help prevent a variety of ailments, including cardiovascular disease, obesity, and fall risk behaviors. Let's go towards the closure now. This is my favorite quote. Most of you know the movie Sleepless in Seattle, but you also need to check in America. The indigenous people are the Red Indians, and there is only one city that is named after an indigenous person. And when he quoted this, when he said this, he was actually talking about the environment, but it resonates across the board. He said, we did not inherit the earth from our parents, meaning we are entitled to nothing. We are borrowing it from our children. This means that wherever we go, we must leave the world a better place to live in. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Menela. Yeah, the presentation was on point. It was profound. It was just lit. And indeed, Menela, there's an immense power of youth in action. We don't fear anything as young people. We drive dialogue. We drive change in our communities, in our societies, despite the discouragement of the socio-economic issues, such as unemployment. But with the organizations such as the BMF, that does not require anyone to be rich, you said it, but to have a specific mindset. I think as young people, we are moving into the right direction. You touch on employment equity in a purpose with disability, or rather empowering disabled people, young people moving into the research field, to the IT sector. You spoke about thought leadership. Menela, thank you very much for being a beacon of empowerment. Continue to rise and being a great manager. Your words define your wisdom. Your action define your character. You are different. You are unique. Thank you very much. We are now going to move on to the question and answer session. We're going to take 5 questions from the audience. You can type in the Q&A option. I will read them loud. Yeah, I'll read them out loud. I see one question from Kitzer Patudi, but I will start with one question. It's directed to you, obviously, Menela. My question is, what is your definition of leadership, and how was it formed from a young age? Did you choose, or you just found yourself in prominent position? I want you to tell us about the process. I mean, as young people today, we are very uncertain on what to do, what to follow, what education to get, because I think we get so discouraged to even further our studies because of the high unemployment rate. I mean, if I have a junior degree, I'll just be like, no, it's fine. What's the point? What's the purpose of me getting a master's degree? Because I know that I'm not going to get employed. So that's my question to you, Menela. And then I'm going to read again a question from Mr. Patudi, Kitayaona Patudi. He says, hello, Menela and fellow leaders. I would like to ask Menela, what does BMF say about the high rate of unemployment in the country? Both skilled and unskilled people seem to be going out of jobs, and those from university are required to be having experience, which the students are not able to meet, even with the internship the government provides. For instance, in we have Advocacy, which provides 1-year internship for graduates, and the candidates who get an Advocacy opportunity will not get another shot at any other government internship. However, the work experience which will be required from such candidates will be a minimum of 3 years. What does BMF say about the work experience which is required from people? Is it not disadvantaging a lot of people, since even the internships are not even available for most students that are exiting the university? There are more graduates exiting per year than any income opportunities available out there. That's a question from Mr. Patudi. Menela, can you please answer our questions? Thank you.
Okay. Patudi, you've touched on a very sensitive matter. I'm going to talk about the experience in the Northwest province, because that's a province where I've worked for since 1996 in a leadership and management position. The internship is designed to, when internships were introduced, it was because of the DPSA requirement that when you appoint people, they must have 2 years experience. The Northwest province took it further and say, why do we give internship for 1 year when children are required to have 2 years experience? And in the Northwest province, specifically the Department of Health, the internship program is a year's contract renewable to the 2nd year if the intern is adding value to the system. So by the time that intern exits the system, they have 2 years experience. And one of the things that we have found is the fact that even if they go for interviews in other departments, they are snapped up quickly. So which means that the internship program needs to be deliberate and also empowering. But what is also key is the fact that when we also started, we only found people internship for people your students that were coming from FETs and universities of technology. So we had to make, that's why I kept on saying, you know, you must advocate and make a conscious decision and put it into policy. We took it further and said that we are not receiving a lot of university students that come for internship. We closed for 2 years. We did not take students from universities of technology, and we took straight students from universities. I want to stop and pause a bit here, because this also talks to the curriculum. The education system that we expose our children to has shown. I've worked with interns from a university of technology and also students from a university on an internship program. And what I found was the fact that your students from universities of technology can hit the ground running, which means that the type of education that we provide in universities has got a shortfall. And we need to start correcting that so that future generations do not experience what the current generations are experiencing. Because it's key that we get to the bottom of the matter. The minimum number of years of experience that is required is 2 years repertory, not 3 years. If I may also cite another example, when you apply for jobs, you know, we get thousands, I mean, tens of thousands of applications for a cleaner post. The Northwest Department of Health made a conscious decision that anyone who has got a matric, because they can apply for an admin clerk post, including degrees, they cannot apply for a cleaner's post. So your cleaner post, it's for your people that fell through the cracks. And we need to understand what actually informed this. You know, currently everybody can go to school. We have a high dropout, but in the past, not everyone had that privilege to go to school. So it's key as and when we do things, we understand what we have to do. I think what must happen, Dr. Simmons and the must actually raise this matter, because BMF to the board, BMF has got an advocacy program for people who fall through the cracks. And that is what is very painful for us as parents now. A lot of parents have taken children through school. The children are not working. It's worse. We have paid NSFAS for those children through the NSFAS. However, where does that investment go when we do not give them jobs? But maybe what we also need to do is to look at, do we need your mainstream education as compared to your artisans? Because even when you look at the mainstream education, it becomes a serious challenge. We have a lot of children. I'm going to share this example also. At one point, we had to take on children who had straight sevens from South African universities. So education is also not transformed. They had straight sevens, they had bursaries from government. And when they came for interviews, those children were taken to BA, and this is someone who wants to do MBCHB. So you must understand the challenges that we are dealing with. And we said, these are the children that we paid bursaries for. They cannot complete because it is not a course that they wanted. They wanted to do MBCHB. There is a year in the Northwest where we actually had a high intake of students who came from UPE, who came from WITS, who came from Bosch University, based on the fact that because they have a bursary, they were just shoved into a course. And you know, one of the things that we started as the BMF Northwest was to look at transformation in higher education. That died a natural death because universities, after the first interaction, were not prepared to come to the table. So what does BMF say about the work experience which is required from people? BMF is the organization that actually crafted the triple BEE. Policy. And I believe that we do have it as BMF to actually challenge all these matters because they also have got access, the board, to the minister in the DPSA going forward. So, Mr. Sokobotan, you asked me leadership. How was it formed? It depends how you raise a child. And I must say, when I apply, I never put the term HDI. You all know what HDI is it not so? Historically disadvantaged, yes, or PDI, historically disadvantaged individual. I believe that I was not historically disadvantaged. The first point is I had parents. The second point is I'm the firstborn child at home. And my parents stressed it on me that I have a responsibility towards my younger siblings and the house. And this is something that I find sad because when we bring up our children, we do not inculcate the same values in our children. Leadership is also nurtured in the home. Except getting good grades at work, not at work, at school. I used to get very good grades at school. I was also a debater. But I was also surprisingly, for that point, for that time that I was growing up, I was able to speak my mind. And I think the most important thing was that I had this firm belief that even if I have challenges, I will never fail. I remember when I started working as a social worker in Botshabelo, all our seniors were white people. Young social workers found me there. I was still a junior social worker. Then I wrote them a letter and asked them, what is wrong with me? And the bosses would come from Bloemfontein. And if we did not agree with something, or if they didn't listen, oh my word, I used to climb on the table. I was younger then. I used to climb on the table and say, you are going to listen to me, whether you like it or not. So if I may say, it starts at home, giving your child the confidence that if they believe in something and it is right, they are able to do it. So all of you, at one point, you are going to have children, or you already have children. Never ever talk down to your child, because the way you relate to that child or diminish from the child, you as a parent, is very important. It will determine how the child faces the world. If you don't have confidence in your child as a parent, the child may have money, may have so many things, but the first one starts at home. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Menela. I've also noted a hand by Nicholas Maweni. Nicholas, are you still there?
Yes, thank you very much, and good evening to the leadership and to a blast from my past, Menela Mojanacha. We served together in the days within the BMF, and welcome. And you've really just spoken truth to power here. And especially when you are reminding many of the people on this call, I know you've touched on this one about ethical leadership. And I guess it always starts with the character. And I think often we tend to want to leave our characters behind. And also you've touched on this issue about the skills development. And I've always been a great believer that skills development, especially at the expense of character development, will certainly produce a culture of educated bullies. And this starts with the right character, particularly for the YP, is to have the right character built, because that character is what's going to shape the future and the culture of the BMF we all want to see. So I just thought you really, really resonated a lot with some of our thoughts. And again, thank you. It was nice to see you again. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Maweni. Can I get another hand? Can I get another hand from the audience? Okay, let me check. Okay, I think let me ask the last question, Menela. I want to know that, you know, in your position, how do you lead? Would you say it's more easier with the years of experience that you have, or perhaps more easier with the team that you have? Thank you very much. I think that will be the last question for today.
Maybe I must ask someone before I answer how I lead. Dinner. How
maybe
do I
yes.
come and answer here? There's a young woman up and coming, and she's also in this webinar. Maybe she must share with you how I lead.
Thank you.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for the opportunity. Thank you, Mama Nella. Mama Nella is what we call a 360-degree manager. She throws challenges at you for you to work through them on your own. However, she does not just leave you on your own to do that. She guides. Now, I want to say to you, through the years of experience that she has in the department, including the knowledge that she has grasped over the years, she is doing a very great job. She's a comprehensive manager with comprehensive leadership styles that is inclusive of all leadership styles. And one of the important things that I have always been saying, as a young professional growing up, I had worked in the department with her, and for the longest of time, I wished I could work under her leadership, because she never screams at her team, but her teams do what is expected of them to do. And I remember at one stage, while we were in a Lekgotla, her team was the first team to come in every morning. I wasn't working with her during that time. And one morning I woke up and went to her and said, Mama, what do you do to your team? Because honestly, for the past 3 days I've been watching, your team is the first to get in here and they are doing what they are supposed to do. And she just said, I'm mothering them, and just laughs over that. But she is a very comprehensive manager that instills self-discipline, that instills self-leadership on each and every individual that works with her. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. That's absolutely beautiful. Thank you very much, Menela. Thank you for gracing us with your presence. You know, we are very content to hear your time. Oh, we have another guest.
Yes.
Okay, that's beautiful. Okay, now take over. Thank you.
Okay, good evening, everybody. Where do you start when you talk about Mama Nela? I've been in management and on BMF for over 10 years. And meeting Mama Nela in those 10 years changed my way of thinking. Mama Nela is one person that you can go to and she will listen. And after listening, she would act on what you said. And she will do a follow-up. When you least expect, she will come to you and say, do you remember I spoke to you about that? There's the leadership that we expect from our leaders. So we learn from people that listen to us. We learn from people that acknowledge us for who we are. She raised an important issue about people not going through the academic careers, but instilling the capabilities that are in people. That is what she is good at. She knows and she can see, I don't know how she sees that, but she can see when somebody's got potential, and she will unleash that potential in you and promise you, you will move mountains after that. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ladies. They came for the webinar, and I thought because I've worked with them, both of them, they would be best suited to give an answer to that. However, I must say, I often say, I don't have challenges that other managers have. 99% of the people that I work with are ethical, and they are also very hardworking. They earn their salaries, and that makes it easier for me. And they forgot to tell you, one of the reasons why they call me Mama, Yawamana. I don't allow something to go wrong under my watch, not only as a BMF member, but also as an African woman. Because if you allow things to go wrong under your watch, that is someone's child, that is someone's husband or wife, and maybe the only breadwinner in the family. So people might rather not like what we are saying to them and put them on the right path rather than them to lose their jobs. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Menela. You know, to be a great leader, first you become a great person, you empower others, and that's what I learned about you. You have an amazing team that are so unexpected, but absolutely beautiful. Well, thank you, everyone. I think we've run out of time. Thank you, Menela, again. Thank you, everyone who participated. My time is now. My time is now up, and I will hand over to Mr. Max Mulele to do vote of thanks and update on upcoming events rather. But he just called in to say he's experiencing some network problems. If he's not here, then I will call Dr. Valencia Simmons. I know it's unexpected, doctor, but maybe you can just share a few words with us. Can I please check with Mr. Max first? Max, are you still with us? Okay, we don't have Mr. Mulele. Dr. Valencia Simmons, can you please do a vote of thanks for us?
Thank you, Lady Refiwe, for the opportunity, and to our keynote speaker, Ms. Lady Nela Mojanaga. Thank you for sharing your wealth of wisdom, your experience with us pertaining today's topic and paving the way forward for us. And thank you for showing us that while you are making impact in educating others, you are bringing your environment, your world also along with you, having those ladies who work with you also with you, and learning and seeing you on a different platform. You are really challenging us in terms of being better ethical leaders. And yeah, thank you so much. And thank you for everyone that devoted their time for this webinar. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I think we can now exit. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Menela.